Otherwise, it looks like we're just two dudes sitting in the middle.
All right, let's see here. Copy this here. Boom, paste. Hashtag De Gea. Hashtag Goalkeeper Podcast. Hashtag Neuer. Did you hear the thing today? It's crazy. The Bayern director said that like if Neuer loses the #1 job, he would tell Bayern players to refuse call up to the German national team.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious.
You should talk about that.
Yeah, we should definitely. I can't open the Instagram because I'm on here right there. You've got the connection to the Instagram, right? So. Well, we'll just leave it on the Twitter for right now, and if people find it on the Twitter, it is what it is. So we'll see if anybody logs on. I mean, it's 10 in the morning, so.
Yeah, we can always.
But it's a good run just to see if it's working.
All right.
So how the hell do we know if it's if we're on our live? I don't know what channel that's on. Yeah, because it's here. But I don't know how we know if it's I don't know how we know where it is. Oops, probably. Oh, so that just unframed us. That just framed us like that.
So we want
A bigger frame. You want that?
just cut it to like
Cut it to
the
here.
top of inside of the.
Oops.
You don't even need to see the
Okay.
top of the
Okay, like that.
lower.
Oh, okay, like that.
As tight as we can. As
Okay.
tight as we can while still being on inside the 18.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. All right. Okay. All right.
If it needs to go down more, it can too. I'm wary about how wide we make it.
Yeah.
Because then it
I
just
know. I got
looks
you.
more.
I got you. Oh fuck! Just what did I do again? Can you do that again? So, I think definitely gonna have to get an iPad. It's just really hard to do with a phone. All right. Well, we'll see if the stream works. Let's just get it going here. Here we go.
Lego.
All right, and we will see if anyone hops on. All right. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid. With me is former MLS goalkeeper Patrick McLean. We're at Calcida McLean live on YouTube Live, I think.
Yeah, first time live. Let's go.
Yeah. As of right now, we have over thousands of people tuning in, and by that I mean nobody knows that we're on right now. But this is a good trial run, and we're gonna figure out if it's working for us. And honestly, it's really hard to do it on a phone. I think I do need to get an iPad because I don't know. I'm gonna have to put my phone up like this so that I can see it against my drink right there. Maybe that'll make it nice and solid so I can see our lovely faces. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be a cool thing moving forward. I think we're trying to set up a little bit of the space here. I don't know if you guys can see everything that we got on this table here. We got a lot of stuff going on, but I think we might have framed it a little too tight here. Maybe we should drop it down. Everyone's like, is this what we tuned in for? We tuned in to hear them talking about the framing.
Yeah. Let's talk about our production here.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Hey, guys, so first off, we are going to be live on YouTube Live, so make sure you go to subscribe on the YouTube channel Inside the 18. It's probably literally the only Inside the 18 you'll find when you go on YouTube. Actually, you'll probably find a lot of goalkeeping videos of stuff going on inside the 18, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That would probably be
all from us.
Yeah, exactly. Just all our videos are going to be on there. But guys, make sure also on Instagram at Goalkeeper Podcast, on Twitter at Goalkeeper Pod. We're going to be posting all the information. We got a lot of news coming up. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, by the way, guys. We're at 96 reviews right now, and we're trying to get to 100. I said that on Saturday, and I was like, let's get there by the end of the weekend. And then there was no 4 others, so I was like, what's going on, guys? I see all the thousands of people that follow us, and nobody. Come on. You guys, I will find you. I will hunt you down. It's literally the easiest thing to do. Just go on iTunes and just click 5 stars and write a review. You can even go to the website, insidethe18media.com. Click on Apple Music. Up top, there's a little widget guy. and you just press that button, and it automatically goes there. For those of you guys who said, oh, I did it in my country, just send us a screenshot, okay, because we can't see it because we're not in, Bali, for instance. Although
Yeah,
it would be nice if we were in Bali.
I'd be into that.
Yeah, I think we'd all be really into that. So let's start here. First off, guys, let's start with some of these reviews. Oh, by the way, guys, we got a huge announcement coming up. We're not going to tell you just yet because the ink hasn't dried on the deal yet. But let's just say a lot of things are going to be going on that you're going to be really excited about, and we're going to be bringing you guys some pretty cool content moving forward on some different platforms that are not just a Fisher-Price looking camera that I'm staring right at.
Hey, very exciting stuff, guys.
By the way, doesn't that camera look like? It looks like it's alive. It looks like it's alive and it's staring at me and that it has thoughts of its own.
It actually does. I'm not sure if you guys have seen a Mevo before, but it looks like an animal eye.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And it's just staring at me into my soul, and it's going like, dude, get on with the show. Like, nobody tuned in. That's why you tune in on YouTube Live, guys, so you can see Patrick do that kind of stuff. All right, let's get to one of these reviews first off, guys. Okay, so this one comes from Fly High Yaddy. And it goes, good content. That's a really solid start. I like that. Very good content. Andre Blake is the best goalkeeper in MLS, second best in CONCACAF. That's some high praise going on. I think Andre Blake sent this review.
I wonder who he thinks the first best is.
I know. Is he going to go Memo Ochoa, Zack Steffen? Like who's Patrick McLean? Like there's a lot of choices he could go there. Then he goes, I know you guys will definitely see this. Okay, so
we did.
Yeah,
you're right.
We did. And also it sounded a little threatening the way he said that, too. I was a little concerned. Also, you guys said leave a 5-star and comment. Shout out to Stan and the Camp Shutout team. Hey, I'm wearing their shirt right now. Shout out to Camp Shutout right here. Look at that. For the 0 people that have tuned in so far, you're going to see this Camp Shutout shirt. Also, hats off to Tiger Goalkeeper Academy. They're the best keeper academy in Chicago with a thumbs up emoji. So thumbs up to Tiger Goalkeeping Academy. I actually reached out to them this weekend. I gave them a little shout out because this review was left, and they responded back. So that was really cool of them. Actually, some Camp Shutout people I know work at Tiger Goalkeeper Academy, so it's got to be good stuff. Thank you, Fly High Yaddy. And if you want to hear your review be read on the air, maybe even live in front of cameras like a Mevo and lights and everything, just send it in, guys. Send in those reviews.
Hey, better production quality coming soon.
Yes, trust me. We're figuring it out, guys. We're figuring it out. One last thing I want to mention is that we're going to be at a United Soccer Coaches Convention, January 15th to the 19th in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. Because nothing says winter like Baltimore in January.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be indoors, guys. Don't worry.
We're gonna cross the Potomac.
It'll be fun. But guys, registration is open for the 2020 convention. Just make plans to join them. It's 5 days of coaching, education, networking, meals. That's right. There's meals involved and social functions. Award presentations. There's going to be a lot of stuff. So all you got to do is go to UnitedSoccerCoachesConvention.org. If you want to join us there at convention in Baltimore, maybe Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens will show up. They'll probably be in the playoffs.
Who's the Ravens?
The Baltimore Ravens. Okay. Do you not follow football?
Oh, I do. I just forgot that was a team.
Oh my. Okay, so someone's looking for the Cleveland Browns to win that division.
What?
Oh no. All right. Well, it's not an NFL podcast. We're not going to get into it right now, guys.
Go Pack, go.
Yeah. Hey, Packers actually are looking to. Okay, yeah, we're not going to get that. Okay, let's get into some of these listener questions, guys. By the way, today.
Look, we got some.
Oh, look at that. We got one right here. This is lovely. This is amazing. By the way, you guys, I'm not going to edit any of this. You guys are going to get all of this joy on the podcast. All right, let's start with this first listener question. It comes from Cy. No last name. So he's like Cher or Prince, something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Cy's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's spelled C-Y.
Yeah. Is that how you spell Cy? I don't know. I don't know how. Or I guess there's all sorts of different ways to do it.
Maybe they're initials.
Yeah. Oh, it could be like Carmen Yeoman or something. I don't know. Just making up names. I'm making up names here. All right. It goes, I'm 14 and have started playing goalkeeper. Because I'm new, my club coach has me training with younger goalkeepers. Is this okay? Is it going to hurt my game because they are smaller? I'm 14 and the other goalkeepers are still in middle school. He says I need fundamentals before I can work with the high school kids, but I made the freshman team at my high school with no experience and stopped the shots. What should I do? Cy, well, thanks first off for sending the question. honestly, man, we're not going to poke fun at this question because obviously this is very important to you, and this is something that I'm sure there's a lot of honestly variables that go into this. We don't know your athletic ability, and we don't mean that in disrespect. It's like you're probably a pretty good athlete if you made a club team without any goalkeeper training whatsoever. Patrick, why don't you start with this? Because you're somebody who kind of came to the game late.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I would say the best situation for anyone developing is to be in an environment that's uncomfortable. And if you're not in a situation where you're uncomfortable training with these kids, then you're maybe not being pushed hard enough. And if you feel like you're not being pushed hard enough, the chances are you're not being pushed hard enough. And I'm a big proponent of fundamentals and how important those are. However, I'm also a big fan of jump in with 2 feet first and then figure it out, as I do in a lot of things.
You mean like live streaming YouTube videos?
Yeah. Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. This is why we have some big news coming, because we can't do this ourselves. We have no idea what we're doing. Yeah, exciting stuff coming, guys. We're obviously thrilled about it, and hopefully our followers will be as well. Back to the question, I would say if you feel like you need more, find a way to get more, whether it's through your current team or through an outside source. And a good way to work on some of these fundamentals is to watch some of our videos as well. Yeah. That's the only way to get good at goalkeeping, is to watch everything we do and listen to everything we do.
That's not the only way, guys.
No, I know. I want to interject really quickly, though, Sai. First off, I want to say that one of the things that I think we should take into consideration too is I don't want to just degrade your goalkeeper coach and say that they're doing the wrong thing, because fundamentals are extremely important, and maybe it's just one of those things where your understanding of the game, because of the speed of play with the older kids, because you don't have that technical background yet, you're kind of just flailing around and you're going into survival mode. And he thinks that if you spend a little bit of time with these younger kids, just getting some clean. By the way, your older guys should be doing technical stuff too. So
Agreed.
I don't understand what's going on there. That he says you got to be with the youngers in order to get technique. But the thing is that try to take everything you can out of that moment, rather than trying to be negative about it and being like, oh, you know what? These are little kids. It's too easy, yada, yada. You know what? Go, hey, you know what? Maybe it's a little bit slower so I can really work on that clean handling and that footwork. And then once I have that down, then talk to your coach and be like, hey, man, like, do I have it down now? Or how about this? Why don't you go to bowl sessions? Why can't you go to bowl sessions,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to put that kind of work in, like, hey, you know what? If this is too easy for you, go to that first. It's almost like your warm-up.
Exactly.
And then go to the older session, What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think in this situation, when you're 14 years old, more is always better. And no training is going to make you worse unless your attitude is worse. And that's how I feel about this situation. If you take what you can out of the situation with the younger kids, and you take what you can out of the situation with the older kids, then you're always going to be getting better and moving forward.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing for you to remember, is that, take everything you can from every session you do. I mean, honestly, like, I remember I've worked with, even kids that I'm working with, like 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. Sometimes I learn from those sessions myself personally, and I'm just training them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that until the way I kind of conveyed that, or that way that kid, brought up that question.
Totally.
So we're always learning as goalkeepers. I think one thing that Phil Wedden said to me once was that always keep learning. And, and Phil Wedden's a very high-level goalkeeper coach, has worked with national teams and MLS teams and all USL teams and all that stuff. So he really knows what he's talking about that. So just keep your education going. One thing that might be happening a lot too in your games, with the older kids, is that you're probably, because you're technically not as sound, you might be spilling a lot of balls. And I want to talk about that today. That's today's topic that we really want to get into, and that's recovery saves. Because, look, there's going to be situations where you're going to have a shot hit in your bubble and you're going to spill it, and you're going to have to make that recovery save. So I want to start off with, first off, explaining what a recovery save is. So, Patrick, what is a recovery save?
So a recovery save is a situation where you've made a save and the rebound hasn't necessarily gone into an advantageous place for you. So you have to make a recovery. Yeah, you have to make a recovery save to make up for where that ball has gone. I'd say that's pretty encompassing.
Yeah, I think you got that down pretty much on the nail on the head there. And there's a difference between a recovery save, making that save because there was a mistake, and then you're running. And there's another thing, running with the chicken, you get your head cut off, and just like attacking a ball because it's spilled, type of a thing. Also, there's a difference between a second ball situation and a recovery save. Okay.
Totally.
Second ball situation is a loose ball. Okay, that's essentially still a 50-50 between you and an attacking player. A recovery save is they've already made possession of the ball, and now you've got to make that second save.
Yep.
So let's talk about the second ball situation. So how can you determine the difference?
I mean, the first thing that you can do is really take a conscious effort to, in your training, in your games and stuff, parry the balls into spots where they're not going to become an issue for you in the next moment. The cleaner you are, you call it one-touch goalkeeping. So if you can handle it cleanly, maintain possession for your team, that's best case scenario. If you can't do that, this is what I always tell goalkeepers. If you can't take it cleanly, get it as far away from your goal as you can, because that's really going to be the best scenario for you. If you can get it far away, no attacker is going to be able to get on the end of it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the most important thing, because the recovery save happens because the ball is in a place where the attacker can regain possession of the ball. Second ball is you parried the ball into a space where now you have a fighting chance to get to that ball before they do. And there's some great goalkeepers that you can watch around the world on the men and women's side who are very good at steering the balls to the right directions.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the mental aspect of the recovery save, okay? Because I think that's the number one
biggest
component.
Yep.
Because a lot of people freak out. They go, ah! And especially at the younger ages, coaches go, keeper, ah, the ball. And all of a sudden, everyone's yelling. And also, they're just expecting the striker to just bury the ball.
Yeah,
they're just expecting them to bury the ball. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that panic when the goalkeeper spills the ball, Patrick?
So I think the biggest thing you can do is work on this in training. And with my younger goalkeepers, the people that I work with, I call it, for the sake of the podcast, we'll call it an oh crap moment. So there's that moment when, between you making the mistake, where you think about the fact that you've just made a mistake and then you react. But as you think about that moment where you're like, oh crap, I messed up, that's sometimes the difference between you being able to react to the next shot and not being able to react quick enough. So if you can minimize and ideally cut out that oh crap moment, then chances are you're going to be that much better suited to deal with the next effort. And the biggest way to do that is working on this in training. Even if you're taking balls cleanly in training, have a second ball in a situation that is not necessarily great for you, but you have to adapt and you have to find a way to minimize and eliminate that oh crap moment.
So let's talk about that moment right there, and the panic effort. And one of the mistakes that I see a lot of keepers make is they attack the ball directly.
Yep.
They attack the ball directly. The problem with that is a lot of times, usually, is what they're doing is that's what the striker's waiting for you to do.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you to pounce on the ball, and then they'll just take a little whoop, and then you're just around you, and you're done.
Yeah.
So are you better off approaching a ball that's a spill at an angle or going at it and stepping forward direct at it? Like, what's your opinion about that?
That's it. Every situation is entirely different. I think the best thing you can do, and for me, a lot of this always comes back to training. It's so important because you learn how to navigate through these situations without it mattering at a full game, at a full game situation.
Yeah.
So if you can work on this and work on, okay, I have a chance to go and take this ball right away off the second chance, off the recovery ball. Okay, I can be aggressive. I can get there. And these are those situations where it's like, you really have to fine tune what your mentality is, because if the ball's too far away and you know you're not going to get there, stand there and be big. It's going to be a lot harder to beat you in the goal than it is to beat you when you're bum rushing the forward.
Yeah, and I've heard this one before a lot of times, and a lot of younger kids say this to me. They said, "Well, if I run at them, they get scared." I said, "Yeah, dude, that doesn't work at the higher levels."
Totally.
Patrick, I don't know how many guys. I mean, they're probably pretty intimidated when you're coming at them. But I mean, I'm sure when you, as a younger goalkeeper, when you were coming up, first starting off in the pro game, you thought because in the college game you could get away with that intimidation factor. You probably thought, I'm a beast. I could go out and I can go Cobra style, right on that ball right there, and these dudes are just going to freak out and they're going to jump over me, and that's not the case at the MLS level, is it?
Yeah, you can be as much of a beast as you want, but when Juan Pablo Angel just dinks it over your shoulder because you're coming at him full speed, he doesn't care. It's not like intimidation.
Nice name drop, by the way. I like that. That was solid.
He made me so frustrated when I first came out at Chivas USA. He was there. And I would get so frustrated because I would think, I have this closed down completely. I'm standing my ground. There's no way he's going to beat me. And then he would just do something that would seem so simple for him that would just make me feel so small. And it's like, that's the level, guys. You have to find ways to adapt and to and aggression's not always the answer. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, I mean, I kind of look like a linebacker compared to some of these goalkeepers out here. And
you could just say it, Kepa, De Gea, these frail little skinny spindly dudes. No.
Yeah, no, when I first came out, that was a little bit more was a little bit more common to be more physically.
The Tony Miola build?
Yeah, right.
That guy's intimidating. Like, dude, I ran into that guy at MLS All-Star, and I'd met him at the World Cup Comedy Tour, earlier the year before, and I was like, "Hey, man, I remember." And he's like, just looking at me, he's like, "You're the dude that was crying." All right, I remember you. I remember you.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, it's not always the play. You got to work on it in training to figure out what you can get to and what you can't. I think it's really, really important, and I do this with all the training sessions that I would do. I would say play every ball live. So if I don't parry a ball into the right situation, I would instruct the other goalkeepers to bury it with full force, because that's exactly what you're going to receive from a forward. And the more you train on situations that are more realistic, the better you are at adapting to the actual real situation.
Oh, there's nothing worse than young goalkeepers who, like, they make the save, they spill it, and then they just get up, and then they get ready for the next rep. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking? Like, what are you doing? That's not the game.
No.
That's not the game. There's not multiple. It's not pinball. We don't have like 4 balls going. I mean, well, some pinball games. I guess in some pinball games, it's just 1 ball. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's talk about body shape a little bit. And I don't mean like your fitness level. Hopefully, you're in a pretty decent body shape in regards to your fitness level. I mean, is in the shape you should take on a recovery save, because there's a lot of different ideas about this. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with your physical attributes, in my opinion, and also the situation, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Like we say on this, every situation is different. Every situation is unique, and you train so that you can get as close to those situations that you will face in a game, because no matter what you do, no situation will ever be the same. And that's what's so beautiful about goalkeeping, and what has inspired me to train so hard and devote so much of my life to it, is because every situation is different. Every situation is a challenge. And as far as what approach you should take, I mean, 100% situational. But if I'm in a body shape that covers as much of the goal as possible, then I'm going to be in the best scenario. And my preference is the 5-point goalkeeper stance. That's your legs. Like, we don't have a full studio yet, so we can't do demos.
It's coming, guys. It's coming. But I do want to say that maybe you can do it with your fingers or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So typically you stay. I think the best approach, and lots of people will fight me on this, I think the best approach is to stay up as long as you can. You stay up, you give yourself the best chance to not get beat on a simple ball, because a lot of players will wait for you to go down and then they'll just dink it over you. and they're waiting for that moment. That's what they train to do. That's what they're working on. If you stand them up and you just make it hard to beat you, then chances are you're gonna be better off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes that I make all the time in a recovery save is I go and I get my shape down to the ball, thinking that that's going to make myself bigger and cover the space. And all I'm doing is just exposing the gap above me for them to lift the ball over me.
Yeah.
And a good player is not going to rush. They're not going to hammer the ball. They're going to place it, and they're going to be smart about it. So, again, how you're built is going to determine this too. And guys, there's nothing wrong with going with an old school Cobra. You can go with an old school Cobra. Just understand that if you go down and you don't win the ball, you're done. There's nothing you're going to be able to do in that situation.
Can you explain the Cobra to
So,
those of us who...
okay. So the Cobra is essentially, and I'm starting out because I talked to Brianna Scurry about this, is it's where you go in with the arms kind of around the ball and kind of wrap yourself around like a Cobra.
Gotcha.
Around the ball and kind of like smother the ball rather than, the futsal block save where you stay bigger and you kind of drop either into the special K type shape or into kind of like that knee extended and to the open chest like this right here. This is why we have me on YouTube, guys, so I can do things like expose my chest strong like that. So those are kind of the two different options. And obviously nowadays the block save is much more popular than the Cobra, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the speed of the play and the speed of the ball and the way the ball moves and stuff like that. But
I mean, on that, the Cobra is definitely the right method if you're approaching a 50-50 ball, like a straight up 50-50
second ball is a different situation than a block save. Exactly.
Like, if you're going to use that approach, like you have to be sure you're going to reach the ball at the exact same time or before them, because otherwise a little touch and you're cobraing you're cobraing a lot of shin pad there.
Yeah, exactly. You're cobraing a red card is what you're cobraing. You're cobraing your PK.
Yeah.
That probably you have to come out of the game and some field player has to come into the goal where they have to do where they have to put the penny on.
Yeah.
And the dude just starts doing jumping jacks because he doesn't know what else to do, and he just starts doing this thing, and then they just hammer the ball to the top corner.
Yeah, admittedly, those are like my favorite montage videos of combination videos of those guys who are going in as field players and they're just making big saves. It's like, that's pretty rad,
dude. There's nothing funnier, and I almost feel like we should do an episode about that where it was just like a compilation of like the greatest field player goalkeeper moments. And I don't mean like field players who used to be goalkeepers, like Wayne Rooney used to be a goalkeeper, like that sort of thing. I mean, I
didn't know that.
Oh yeah, like field players who actually had to go into goal and don't know how to be goalkeepers because it looks like an ASO game.
Yeah.
But at the professional level, you're like, is that an EPL match or is that ASO United?
But the thing is, some of these guys are so athletic. I mean, look at John Terry or some of these other guys who have had to go in, and it's like,
I remember the John Terry.
Yeah,
when that happened.
These guys are so athletic and such good competitors, and they understand the game so well that they can function.
Yeah.
Some of these guys can actually function. And what was his name from? Oh man, we won't get into it because I can't remember his name. But there's been some really cool ones.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we should do a compilation one day. I think it would be actually kind of a fun episode to do to just show some of these moments, and some of you guys will be like, hey, I'm a better goalkeeper than that dude. I'm a better goalkeeper than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I'm just saying that name. I don't know if he's ever been in goal, although I'd love to see him in goal just because he looks like the type of guy that'd be fun in goal. All right, let's talk about footwork, and let's talk about your footwork in the recovery save, and let's just throw it into the second ball too, because I personally don't think that the straight on sprint is the way to go.
I think if you're going to reach it at a Cobra level, then it's probably the way to go.
Okay.
But that's, and I keep coming back to this, that's really going to be determined on how fast you are. Can you get there in time? Can you beat the attacking player there? How far is the ball from you? These situations are all unique. And if you feel that you can get there in time using a dead sprint, then get there in time, because ultimately that's what's going to matter. That's what's going to keep the ball out of the net. Now, if you go on a dead sprint and you got your timing wrong, chances are you got a PK against you now.
Yeah. Yeah, or you're running right past the ball, which
Yep.
I've seen a lot of times too. It's just, and it's like, okay, well, that did not work out for you.
Whoops.
Also, there's the whole idea, and Omar brings this up all the time, is the fast approach to slow arrival. You can go fast and
Totally.
then control your movement once you get closer to the ball as you're preparing to either set for the shot or to just slow down your momentum so that you've got better control of your body.
Yeah.
I know you were talking about the sprint. Are you speaking about a direct sprint, or are you speaking about an angled sprint? Because I think an angled sprint is probably a better way to go because you're covering more ground and there's no gap that's open, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it totally depends. Like if the ball's, going away from you, maybe the angled sprint is the best way. If it's a situation where you're 100% sure that you can get there, if you have to change your mind in those moments, it's best to go from what's a longer stride, a long powerful stride, to a short, choppy, controlled stride, because maybe that'll give you enough time if they take a touch around you to adapt to that ball. It gives you more time to adapt to the situation. You see a guy like Tim Melia do this all the time. He's so aggressive in his approach, especially like a couple years ago. He'd be so aggressive, but then if he wasn't sure that he was going to make it there on time, it's quick, choppy steps. Okay, the defender goes to take a touch around him, and he's quick enough where he can adapt to that ball.
Yeah. Now, I want to bring up real quickly before we give some activities here. What about the crossover step? Because personally, when I go down and I have a spill, I like to go with the crossover step across my body to get my momentum going across into that space.
Yeah, I mean, the crossover step is basically just a more controlled version of a sprint from a sideways approach. So if you need to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, it's basically it's a sideways sprint. That's what a crossover step is.
Yeah.
And if you need to say get to the opposite side of the goal, that's 100% the footwork you should use, because you're moving laterally, which is going to cut that angle more as you go across the face of the goal, especially.
Yeah, one guy I've noticed who's really good at this in MLS, and everybody who's listening worldwide is like, you're going to bring up an MLS guy? I said, yeah, I'm absolutely going to bring up an MLS guy, because there's some awesome goalkeepers in MLS, is Evan Bush. Evan Bush is really good with the crossover step of lateral movement across the goal. And I think any lateral situation like you're talking about, like that is the way to go. Direct, I think you're right. I think the sprint, you're much better off in that situation. All right, let's talk about a few activities. We don't want to give away everything, guys, because we want you guys to do your homework, and we want you guys to go out there and be creative and come up with your own activities. That's another thing, too, nowadays, guys, is don't wait for goalkeeper coaches to spoon-feed you activities. Learn the game, read the game, and then come up with activities on your own based on the situations that you're dealing with, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but what are some you would suggest?
Footwork drills?
Yeah. Or just for, dealing for recovery saves.
Yeah, I think, like I said a little bit earlier, I think if you just put balls in maybe random situations, say you're dealing with, an angled shot, an attacking angled shot, and learning where the most common second ball or recovery situation is going to be, and put a ball in that area. Because even if you don't parry it to that area, it'll get you used to adapting to that situation and what your footwork is going to look like. And as you progress, put them in random spots. Like have them hit a volley from close range, whatever it is. You can find different situations which will elicit a different response and a different footwork that you'll have to make.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important. Keep it varied. Keep it varied. Don't do the same thing over and over again, and deal with as many multiple situations as possible. And try to keep that variable of the unknown into it. That means have your friends chipping balls, hammering balls, dipping you, all sorts of different things, so that you're not always dealing with the same type of service over and over again.
Yeah.
On the spill.
The more different situations you see, the more experience you gain, because in those I'll call them like darker moments that maybe it's a situation you haven't faced, and you need to enlighten yourself as to how to deal with that. Like this illuminates some of those situations for you, so you can adapt better.
Yeah. And I think that's really the number one key right there is just keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Change different things over and over again. And somebody who's been very good at doing that, see how I segue into this, is Zack Steffen, who just had phenomenal recovery saves this weekend. And that's why I want to talk about him right now. We're going to move into the week in goalkeeping, and I want to talk about kicker team of the week again, 2 times this year already, and the season's only, 5-6 weeks old. Like
yeah.
it's awesome. He's killing it right now, man. Unfortunately, it was a loss for Dusseldorf against Mönchengladbach, but he had 9 saves, again, an unreal performance, including this great double save moment. By the way, FOTMob gave him a 7.4 record, and Who Scored gave him an 8.1. For an American, that's like giving him a 10. You know, like Americans never get love. So this was incredible. So let's kind of break down some of these first off. Let's talk about first off the first one in the 12th. Brilon Bolo, left-footed shot from the right side of the 6-yard box is saved in the center of the goal by Steffen. You know, he just keeps great shape. The one thing I love about Steffen is that even though he's so reactive and he's got such good reactions, he holds shape really well.
Yeah, he's super clean in his movements. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who's good at the crossover step, like unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, his movements are so clean. The way he adapts to these situations, and it's what makes him like the U.S. number 1 as opposed to some of these other guys, is it's not always in a box the way he deals with these situations, which makes him more adaptable and more fluid to different varying situations. Is he's athletic enough to deal with this?
Yeah. And this is what we were talking about in regards to the recovery save, and I love how I'm pointing at the computer like you guys can see the video that I'm looking at right now. It's right here. Right here. But this was the recovery save type of situation. So first off, we're talking about that Embolo shot. Okay, recovery movement across the goal to make that save. The ball popped up literally in the air, and it's floating back, and he finds the flight, which is one of the things that a lot of goalkeepers do is they lose that flight of that ball because they're so panicky about where did the ball just go.
Yeah.
You know, he follows the flight, adjusts his body to get across for the smother on the near post. That was world class in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that I think might have been one of the saves of the week for me in all of soccer this week. So let's talk about another one here. I want to talk about the header into the box. Matthias Ginter, header from very close range, is saved in the top center of the goal. This was from across. It was a dangerous ball coming into the space. The Odell Beckham, I like to call it, the one-handed. Now, you might think, oh, wow, what an athletic save and stuff like that. No, his positioning was so well positioned for that dangerous ball. He also knew not to come out for that dangerous ball.
Right.
That's one thing you guys got to understand. Just because it's an in-swinger doesn't mean you have to come out for that ball. So he read that, held position, and then tracked that ball and was able to get one paw up to push that ball away. And you're like saying, oh, that's my most unorthodox save or whatever. Hey, it's about what keeps it out of the net, right?
Listen, look at some of the best goalkeepers in history. And I'm going to use Schmeichel in this situation because this guy makes the most unorthodox saves, but he's still regarded as one of the best of all time because he has that athletic ability to not only see the flight of the ball, but not to be so rigid in the sense that he has to deal with it a certain way. And you see this with goalkeepers all the time and young guys is they feel so rigid in what they've been taught that they can't comprehend moving outside that structure.
I can't believe I'm actually gonna say this, and so some of you guys are gonna like have your mind blown. But this is one of the things I like about about Latin Americans is that they're willing to improvise and they're willing to deal with the situation rather than I see a lot of times with, let's just say, goalkeepers that were trained in, let's say, a Western European, motif where it's like, well, if that step isn't, but then all of a sudden it's the same thing. It's like, well, dude, what if you're driving a car and somebody swerves into it? Like, what are you gonna do? It's like, I don't know, but the DMV told me I'm supposed to stay like this. Like, it's like you gotta deal with the situation.
No, exactly.
He had another great moment like this. Unfortunately, this was actually on the goal. But it was really Marcus Terman. He had a right-footed shot from the center of the box to the bottom right corner, which was really tough to stop after Steffen had come all the way across the box. And it was, I don't know, it's like a reach behind, kind of like a Stefan Fry reach behind save. Exceptional explosion, in my opinion. The instincts. I don't know if you saw this one, but this was originally off the header that he runs across, and then he just pushes it out of the goal, basically. And unfortunately, he's on the ground, so he can't recover in time. It's just too fast, and then they're able to place the ball in. But that initial save was just world class, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's not just, and this is what this is what I really love about Zack Steffen is you want to know the difference between some of these guys who were promising young goalkeepers and the actual follow through of Zack Steffen is he gives a full effort for all these situations. A lot of guys, and it's crazy, a lot of guys even at the pro level, they totally give up on that. Oh, I made the first save, that's good enough. I'm not going to try to get to this one. If it goes in, it's on my team, right? It's not really on me. No, he busts his butt to get back and make an unreal save. And unfortunately, there's just nobody there to bail him out.
Yeah, and that's just what. And those things are going to happen. But guess you know who does notice that stuff? Your teammates.
Yes.
Your teammates notice that because they know, dude. I know. I'll tell you this. A lot of field players don't know much about goalkeeping, but when they see you stand and not give an effort, even if you don't think you have any chance whatsoever, just give it a shot. Give it a shot because when they see you frozen, they're gonna have a certain lack of confidence into you that they wouldn't.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean that's an excellent point because like these guys are running for 90 plus minutes, right? And they look at goalkeepers like, okay, you don't have to run it all, so you should be great in every moment that you need to be great in. And I 100% agree with that because we are not running. We are not running. We are not putting forth the same physical effort as these guys are. That's just a fact. But
I don't know. I do a lot of like knee raises and crunches and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, you're operating at about a 10th then. But my point is, like, it is our job to make sure that our mental focus and ability to turn that massive amount of whatever it is, competitive fire on in those split seconds is so crucial to not only your team's success, but to your team's belief in you.
So let's talk about that, and I want to move into NWSL because Sky Blues had a rough season. It's been a rough season. Obviously, rebuilding. Things are getting better there. Having games at Red Bull Arena, which is awesome. The fact that they're actually starting to put some, for lack of a better term, some resources into that club here. I want to give a shout out to my friend Caitlin Sheridan. She's just actually unreal for Sky Blue. They got the 3 points against a Seattle Reign team that's trying to make the playoffs, who's also got a great goalkeeper in Casey Murphy right now. Honestly, Casey Murphy, Jane Campbell, and Caitlin Sheridan, in my opinion, like three of the best younger goalkeepers in NWSL right now. Jill, you can totally, or Barney, or anybody who follows NWSL closer than I do, please debate with me because I probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I do want to say that she's had the most shots on her of any goalkeeper in NWSL this year. And because of that, she's got actually the most saves in NWSL. Again, we say that's not a category you want, but Kaylin has just been world class. And I want to give a shout out to this game. I want to break it down real quick. First off, 1.24 goals against average on a team that's second to last is pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's not bad, especially when you're talking about the most saves, the most shots against in the league. That's actually
Dude, she's faced 97 shots this year.
That's a really impressive stat.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's get into this game real quick. In the 41st, there's an attempt saved. Allie Long, a left-footed shot from a difficult angle on the left, is saved in the bottom left corner by Kaylin. On the smother, no spill. We're talking about recovery saves here. Hey, if you handle it cleanly, you don't give up that spill, you don't have to worry about that. And that ball was dipping too, and that's one of those things where you got that chin and you drop that chin right into that ball like that.
Yeah. The best kind of recovery save you can make is the one that you don't have to make.
Yeah. Then I want to talk about in the 51st. This was just a really nice solid one. It's a great ball by Megan Rapinoe to Balser. Then there's a shot. She goes for the close distance spread. I know some of you guys in the block, they go, I don't know, I'd probably go into the smother. Hey, if your feet are closer to the ball and the ball's moving faster, where's it going to get quicker? Your feet are probably going to be the way to go.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm 100% advocate for this technique because you just got to do what's going to work. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be what somebody told you is the right way. It just has to work, and it has to keep the ball out of the net, and that's exactly what she does.
Yeah. And I want to bring up, which I think is NWSL Save of the Week, in my opinion, and I know you guys, I think the voting ended today, so by the time you hear this, it's probably hopefully gone to Kaylin. But this was the long throw from Megan Rapinoe to Bethany Balser. A world-class top hand across the body. And this is one of those things that I love about Kaylin is that she goes into that nice follow-through with the little prep step before the push-off. It's just that little shift of the body.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't have to be a big step. It's just a little shift to reposition yourself before the push-off.
Yeah, totally. And this save is world-class. I mean, there's no question about it. And these are the ones that, as you guys know, these are the ones that we dream about having the opportunity to make, is that sick top hand, full extension save, and she's up for it, and she follows through perfect. Her footwork's nice and clean. Like,
I mean, that was bullet. It was those are really tough. Is that ball across the box like that? Because if you don't get a touch to that, that's in the top corner.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's going in.
Yeah, and I love the fact that one thing I love about Kaylin is that she follows through not just with her eyes, but her full head extends with the ball. And again, it doesn't have to be a big motion. It just has to be a slight tilt.
Yeah.
But that's what allows you that full extension to follow through. Because if you stop, and I talk about this with kids all the time, if you stop on contact, chances are you're putting it in the net. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought you were raising your hand like you had a question. Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah.
If I stop seeing the ball when it's here, then chances are, and those of you who are listening and not watching, you can't see this demo, but just above my head level, if I'm stopping where my eyes are straight forward, there's no chance I'm going to be able to deal with it in the best way that I could. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say about Kaylin before I say one negative thing, sorry, Kaylin, I know you're listening, you're a fan of the show, and now I feel like a jerk that I'm going to say something negative. But it's not really negative about you. It's more negative about just a system of play, in my opinion. There's the ball that Megan Rapinoe played across the box in the 88th. And you read it all the way across the box. I love how I'm talking it to you, like I'm telling you about what happened in your game, like your goalkeeper coach hasn't gone over it with you, or Jill and Maria at TKI, shout out to TKI, haven't talked about it already. You read it all the way across the box wide, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of goalkeepers don't do, is they just assume, they read across and they go, oh, you know what, that's going wide, and then all of a sudden it changes action, and then it ends up going in the net. And a lot of kids go, well, I just assumed. So it's like, dude, you can't assume.
Yeah.
You got to go all the way across.
Listen, and this is, we go back to our team having faith in us, right? If you're shutting off in moments like that, which she didn't, which is great, if you shut off in moments like that, your team is going to lose faith in you 100%. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be negative, but that's just the way it is. Like, you have to give everything that you have in those moments, because if you don't,
yeah,
somebody else is gonna. And
that was great service. And some people might argue, they're like, oh, well, she could have boxed it a little bit cleaner. But like, man, if you just get contact on it, if you follow it all the way across the box on those in-swinging balls like that, and you trail it and you get contact with it and you just play it, you just redirect it.
Yeah, totally.
You're giving your team, and I mean, look, 1-0 win. That might have been the moment right there, you know, for all you know.
Yeah.
All right. The negative thing I'm just going to say about this is right here is, like, I'm not crazy about this. The throw inside. I know, Patrick, you're fine with it. I'm not crazy about it. She got herself a little bit in the trouble with the sidewind throw on the inside. Ball's played back to her. Big touch. This is in the 13th. This is early on. Then it's one touched away, which that I'm fine with whatsoever. But I think that ball should always be played out to the channel. I'm not crazy about going with a sidewinder inside to a player on the channel, just because I just think there's just too much risk, you know.
Yeah. It's not something I would do.
Yeah.
But that's not to say the message to her hasn't been different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No. I mean, and that's what I'm saying is that, I'm not I'm just nitpicking here because your game was so darn good. And I'm trying to be objective. Is it objective or subjective? I don't know which one it is.
Objective.
Objective. Okay. Kaylin, when you come out here in LA in the wintertime, you can show me how my distribution skills are. That would be great. All right. Let's do one more thing before we get out of here. What do you want to do? You want to do FA Cup or do you want to do MLS?
Let's go MLS.
Okay, we'll go MLS. Shout out to Andrew Putna. Got the 90 for Real Salt Lake this weekend against New England Revolution, and got a clean sheet and a scoreless draw. It was a crazy game. I'm not sure why Raimondo didn't play. I didn't want to ask the RSL staff. I felt that was out of my place to ask that. Although I guess I could have. But Putna played. And honestly, hey, getting a clean sheet on the road, people might say, hey, there was this play, there was that play. That's hard to do.
Yeah, listen, playing in New England is very difficult. You're on the turf. It's always windy. It's always rainy. It's always a mess. And it's really, really hard to get out of there with the result.
And there's 5 people there.
Yeah.
In a 70,000 seat stadium.
The heat. No, but seriously, it's really difficult to play there, and it's really, really difficult to play there and win. I mean, they've built a great program, and they make it hard on you.
One thing I want to say about Andrew is that we've been talking a lot about goalkeepers building from the back, and then you talked about the fact that when you have a goalkeeper that can ping a ball, a long distance ball, that's a big deal. And Putna had some great long distance balls. They weren't playing short. They used the fact that he's a different goalkeeper than Nick Raimondo, and they used that to their advantage. If they had tried to play the way like they do with Nick, it would have been a different thing. And
yeah,
you got to
totally.
kind of set up your system based on the goalkeeper you got. Putna's got a big frame. He's a big, massive dude. He's intimidating as all heck, to me at least. I'm scared of him.
See, I see him as not a very big guy.
Yeah, to me, everyone's huge. I'm like, you're 5'11"? Oh, my God. Beast. I want to talk about in the 39th minute, okay? There's a corner. Putna calls out for it, but he doesn't get it clean. But the fact that he stays with the ball means he's still, because he's intimidating, is that, keeper! He still reaches up and gets that ball. Guys, just because you made a mistake, if you want to call it a mistake, and didn't get the ball clean and the ball pops up, doesn't mean that your job's done. And I see that a lot of times at the youth level is like, goalkeeper like, keeper! Oh, whoops, I missed it. Oh, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's like, it's that oh crap moment.
Yeah.
Oh crap.
Yeah. And he trails the fight of the ball and he follows it and he's like, all right, Big Paw's going to get it now.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you don't get it. The forwards and attacking players these days are so good at hitting those balls in that sometimes it's really difficult to read that and then to do it cleanly. And this is a really enticing ball that they hit in. And, he thinks, okay, I can get there. And, he doesn't quite get it right, but he stays with it. And that's the biggest thing is it's not necessarily about whether or not you make a mistake initially. Like, yeah, I mean, if the forward gets a flick on that and it goes in the net, we're having a different discussion, but he didn't. So it's hard to say that he made the wrong decision because he got a shutout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you really break it down, ultimately, it didn't end up going in the net because he stayed focused. Personally,
I mean, again, I'm a different goalkeeper than Andrew. He's a bigger guy. He's got a bigger frame. Outswinging balls like that, I hold my line for those. But that's just because I'm tiny, and the risk versus the reward for me is going to be much more limiting. Patrick, do you ever go out for an outswinging ball, or do you?
Sure.
Okay.
It just depends if it's. Okay. It just depends on the trajectory. I mean, if it's a little bit more floated, outswinging, yeah. I mean, if I can cover that ground and get there, I mean, those are the situations that we build in training to determine whether or not we can get there.
Yeah.
And what footwork we use to get there, etc.
No,
so
that's true. I want to bring this up real quick though, because I think it's a great coachable moment. And again, maybe it's just the fact that he charged out that was able to even put the ball onto the woodwork because he did come out for that ball. In the 84th minute, he comes out on delivery from a heel ball. He misses the ball. The guy heads the ball onto the woodwork, and then there's a big scramble type of a thing. So again, you're talking about that oh crap moment. So what's your advice in these situations? Because I've seen this at the youth level a lot of times, and that's why I don't want to throw Andrew under the bus for this, because it's simply sometimes it just matters like you can come out for a ball and it just comes in faster than you expected, and now you got to deal with it. But what would you say in this situation to your goalkeeper afterwards?
What would I say to my goalkeeper afterwards?
Yeah, after a situation like this, like you came out, you didn't win that ball. They hit the woodwork. Our team, there's a big scramble. We finally clear the ball. That sort of thing. Do you say anything? Hey man, next time hold your line, or do you just go, you know what? You don't even bring it up.
Honestly, the approach that I would have is I wouldn't really address it. And here's why, because maybe then he's overthinking those situations, and we get in a situation where now he's so worried about making the right decision that he makes the wrong decisions. And he was instinctive. He didn't second guess his decision. He went for it. I mean, the result wasn't a goal.
Yeah. All right. There you go. That's coming from a pro right here. So, if that's the advice that he's given out there, then that's what you guys should be giving to your young goalkeepers out there. And that's why I wanted to make this less about Andrew and more about the situation. Really.
Well, here's the thing. If it's a younger goalkeeper, then my approach is a little different.
Okay.
If it's
a
Andrew,
pro, okay, got you.
I mean, you always want your young goalkeepers to be making the best decision possible. So as long as you're doing your job as a coach to make sure that happens, I mean that's what's key here. Yeah. I mean it's different for Andrew because he's a high functioning pro athlete.
Yeah. And we're going long here, guys. So I want to wrap this up, but real quick, I just want to say shout out to Colchester for taking out Spurs. Not because I hate Spurs or anything like that. 34-year-old Dean Gherkin gets a clean sheet in a scoreless draw. It's a League Two side, and that's not a small feat. And he had a PK save in the PK shootout. I mean that you got to give a shout out for something like that. That just
totally
that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about more about him, but in the future. But I just saw that Maria's come down the stairs, so it's time for us to wrap up. Remember, guys, contact at inside18media.com if you have any questions, any suggestions for different guests and stuff. Remember, subscribe on the YouTube channel Inside the 18. At Goalkeeper Podcast on Instagram, at Goalkeeper Pod on Twitter. Keep sending those reviews. We are out. We'll see you later.
See you guys.
Later.